Also, side note, when I came back to the game in like 2014, some dude just memed on me and I lost. Like, I think it was on Dueling Book and he was running ice barriers and he established some sort of floodgate setup, and I didn't even know what a ban list was at this point, so I'm just playing whatever, and I ended up getting beat by ice barriers. So not my proudest moment, but I'm not afraid. I'm not ashamed to admit it. Their spells are crazy, right? But their monsters are just terrible. Like they have no inherent summon condition. They don't have inherent like crazy effects. It's just like here's a tribute summon monster, and then like when this card's on the field, your opponent can't go to the bathroom. Like these are not good enough effects, and no summoning condition makes him just like crazy. Because like, why not just run Majesty's Fiend? Welcome back, everybody. We're taking time out of our busy schedules of hating on Konami, hating on the format, hating on the game in general, to bring you a little bit of breath of fresh air to talk about the game, talk about some of the more fun things in the game, some of the more interesting things that are coming up that we're going to get to enjoy soon. And hopefully this ban list comes, but we'll see if it does. We're really excited about this Terminal World, and so we are going to ask the question to answer the question that needs to be asked by everyone is, out of these three decks, which of them is the most competitive? Are all three competitive? How competitive viable is each deck? And so let's get into this.
Draw your last pathetic card so I can end this, Yugi.
My grandpa's deck has no pathetic cards, Kaiba, but it does contain the unstoppable
Dueling Wave,
Infernoid, Ritual Beast, Ice Barrier. How competitive are we talking about for each of these archetypes? The cards have been released to us in simulators for a minute now. We've had them for what feels like almost a year at this point. These cards, when they were released, everyone thought they were amazing, great, we couldn't wait to get them. Now it's been a little bit of a delay to get them, but they've actually been able to port them in the new Battles of Legends, so we're getting them at a reasonably timely level and not having to wait, a million years for these cards to come in. We've already tested them ad nauseum from all sorts of YouTubers. I'm sure you've seen them all over YouTube. The combo masters, the deck profile masters, they've all taken a look. Some of the pro players have taken a look at these cards, given their opinion, and so I thought, why not? On the eve of the Battles of Legend Terminals World set, I thought, hey, why not take a look at one final time before this is released on how good these decks will be, and kind of give my input and my 2 cents. All three of these archetypes exist already in TCG, and they're all ass. But with this new support, they're going to all improve significantly. So we'll start first off with Ritual Beast. Ritual Beast is a deck that released in the Secret Forces along with Necros way back in the old days of 2015. Ritual Beast was the other deck in that set. Unfortunately, Konami had to do the most Konami thing ever and hit the deck unnecessarily by limiting Ulti Kanahawk, and as a result, the competitive success of this deck was just completely neutered. So we'll start with them. The cards they receive are as follows. So let's get into this real quick. Let me just see these cards and we'll read them. All right. So the first, we'll go in order of monster, extract monster, spell trap. Basically the way they're ordered like Edo Pro. First card they receive is Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara. So let's read this real quick. You can only special summon one of it per turn. That's pretty much the same clause as all of them have. You can discard this card. Immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon one Ritual Beast monster from your hand. That's an amazing effect, right? Because this deck has limitations on the amount of times you can special summon, but if you can normal summon multiple times, there's no limitation there. You can play them as much as you want. It's kind of a way to cheat Ritual Beast effects. If a Ritual Beast card you control would be destroyed by battle or card effects, you can banish this card from the field or graveyard instead. Nice little protection effect. It's not really that important or relevant, but why it's insane is because it triggers the third effect, where if this card is banished, so banished anyway, off of Kanahawk or by itself, you can special summon one Ritual Beast monster from your deck, E-Telly from the deck except herself. That is insane. This card reads like a custom card. It might be the single best card out of all of these, maybe aside from Infernoid Evil out of all three archetypes. Yeah, so Lara, great supports card, insane. It's like a 10 out of 10. Next is we have Ritual Beast Ulti Nochi Drago. Hello, Ritual Beast? Yes? Would you like Astrolot? Why, yes. So, Nochi Drago is very similar to Astrolot, where you summon him by banishing the guys from the graveyard, because he says, must be special summoned from your extra deck by banishing the above cards from your field and or graveyard, right? So that's amazing. It gives you a lot of different versatility there, not just graveyard, can be field too, on the off chance that you want to banish it from the field instead of the grave. You can only summon one per turn. That makes sense. Limited a little bit. Like, it's not as good as Astrolot, obviously, but it's a great little extender, enabler. It offers protection because your opponent cannot target other Ritual Beast monster you control with card effects, and you can return this card to the extra deck to target one of your banished Ritual Beast monsters and special summon it. That basically means from the extra deck you have at any time that you want a like return from a different dimension. Basically, this summons any of them from the banished zone as long as you're able to banish 2 from grave to summon. So it's like you can just start going off with this type of monster. So another, like, this card's like a 9 out of 10. If it was maybe a little bit better stats and maybe had like a pop effect like Astrolabe, this card would be a 10 out of 10. Then we have the Link 4 Ritual Beast Ulti Ritari, or Ritari, whatever, weirdest name. I don't know where Konami gets these. Generic 3+ effect monsters. Neither play contribute cards to activate a card effect. That's to stop infernoids, I think lore reasons. You can target one of your banished Ritual Beast cards, return it to the hand or extra deck. Then immediately after this card resolves, you can normal summon Ritual Beast monster from your hand. Doesn't have to be the one you added back. So it literally recycles your resources and then summons a dude from hand. That's retarded. Like, this is insane. And then during your opponent's turn, you can quick effect target a Ritual Beast card you control and one card your opponent controls, banish them. So it's an interruption, it's an extender, it's a recursion. This card is like literally a 10 out of 10. And then Ritual Beast Inheritance. It's a continuous spell card. Monsters your opponent controls lose 200 attack for each different type among the Ritual Beast monsters you control. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. You can reveal 1 Ritual Beast monster in your hand, add 1 Ritual Beast monster for a different type from your deck to your hand, then discard 1 card. If 2 or more monsters are special summoned to the field at the same time, you can target 1 monster on the field, change the battle position. That last effect is kind of pointless. So the effect here is you get to reveal 1. You'll always have 1 in hand. You reveal 1, and you're able to add basically Kanahawk to hand, or one of the psychics to be able to extend your plays. So amazing card, amazing. Literally all of the support is crazy. The only criticism I could have is maybe like give us 1 more card, but and the only card that's like not absolutely perfect is Nochi Drago, and even he's really free. He's still like a 9 out of 10 card. So this support is absolutely bonkers. And so like here's sort of kind of like a skeleton of how this deck can look like post release, and you know what I foresee for this deck once it's released. Fully in the TCG. I mean, even with no ban list, I expect this deck to top regionals fairly consistently, and I expect it to possibly top a YCS, especially if Snake Eyes gets hit. This deck has a lot of tools, has a small engine, can run like hand traps, can run non-engine, it can run Shifter, which is obviously broken. That'll raise its win percentage up by like 10 points by itself, and so I think Ritual Beasts have a really, really good chance into the future, into this meta and metas beyond. So what do you guys think of Ritual Beasts? Let me know down below if you're going to pick them up or not, and how competitively viable do you think they'll be. All right, now we move on to Infernoids.
There's evil afoot.
Now, this is one of my favorite decks of all time. I played this deck back in the Zoo format and had some decent competitive success, you know, because your boy always has to be contrary to what everyone else is doing, because if everyone's playing Zoo, you play Demons. Anyway, let's get into what support we've gotten. There's no main deck monster that we received, but we did get an extra deck monster, which is probably the most broken card I've ever read. Infernoid Evil.
There's evil afoot. All I said was there's evil afoot.
It requires 2 Infernoid monsters, so Super Poly Go Burr. But if it's Fusion Summon, you can banish 1 Infernoid monster from your graveyard. Send Infernoid monsters from different names from each other from your deck to grave equal to the banished monster's level. If this card is sent to the graveyard or banished, you can add 1 Void Spell Trap from your deck to your hand. So it just gives you 3 insane effects. It's a Searcher, which means if you can send this card to the graveyard with like even like a Nadir Servant, you get a free search, which Infernoid can run Nadir Servant because it doesn't need its extra deck, right? You'll be able to set up your Void Feast plays very easily going first. Like, this card's really, really cracked. Foolish Burialing that many Infernoids is crazy. Like, if you're able to even like just banish like a 6 or like an 8, dude, that's 8 different Infernoids, 6 different Infernoids. Like, that's insane. That is insane. This card's cracked. You know, what else needs to be said about it? Then we have the Link Forward Infernoid Flood. It's 2 monsters, including an Infernoid monster, which is nice. I like that it's locked into the archetype, so that other decks aren't just going to randomly spam this out. Basically ends up being like a Solemn Judgment, right? You contribute 1 monster, negate the summon of a special summon, and then if you do banish that monster, which is nice. If this card is banished from your graveyard, you can banish a card on the field. Or if a card is banished from your graveyard, you can banish 1 card on the field. If this Link summon card in its owner's control is destroyed by opponent's card, you can special summon 1 Infernoid monster from your deck, ignoring its conditions, summoning conditions. Great card. It's not perfect, but it's pretty solid. It helps, you know, Infernoids kind of, you know, not have to worry about their levels. Infernoids have this issue where, you know, constantly they have to worry about, oh man, my levels, they're locking me on the field. Links kind of bypass that, which is really nice. Then we got Void Blaze Up. This is the reveal an infernoid or void spell in your hand. Discard your entire hand and draw the same number of cards you discarded. If you control no monsters or only fiend monsters except turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Target up to 11 banished infernoid monsters with different names. Return them to the graveyard. This card is absolutely broken. Like, this is exactly what we needed. A card destruction where your opponent can't plus off of it. Only you will plus off of it. You set up your whole grave. You just need an infernoid monster in your hand, which you will have because they always brick you, and or a void spell or trap. So like something, as long as you have basically another card in hand, you can always use this. And then the other effect is crazy because it just resets your whole entire grind game, actually giving infernoids somewhat of an insane grind game. Where it had a decent grind game, now it has an insane one. Continuous spell, Void Barrier. Infernoid monsters you control gain 100 attack for each banished infernoid monsters. If you control no monsters or only fiend monsters, you can activate one of these effects. Add one of your banished infernoid monsters to your hand, which is nice. It's a recursive looping card where you can constantly get your resources back, and then special summon an infernoid monster from your hand, ignoring summoning conditions. That is awesome because a lot of times you're stuck with, like, you know, a Deviati and then like an 8 on the field or whatever, and it's like, okay, well now I can just summon another monster to push for game, to push for more damage. Like, this is really, really good support. I would give this, you know, this support is just phenomenal. I think at the end of the video, I'm going to do a full on which of these is the best deck, which do I expect the most competitive success from. And so stick around for that. But in terms of the Infernoids, I also expect them to get regional tops 100%, and then possibly some YCS tops, especially with the abundance of fire support. As long as the Snake Eye engine isn't killed, Infernoids have a really, really good advantage going into a Snake Eyes type board, because Snake Eyes really doesn't do anything to stop Infernoids. Infernoids are just like big bunguses that can just take out anything. Just massive removal effects and whatnot. So Infernoids are crazy. They control the graveyard, which is another thing that hurts Snake Eyes. So I expect Infernoids to do very well. And now last, but certainly not least, but usually in history would have been the least, is Ice Barrier.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute detail.
Ice Barrier released ages ago, like at the dawn of the dueling, no, I'm just kidding, dawn of Synchro era, in like the dual terminal lore. It's one of the more, I guess, like all of those dual terminal decks were kind of ass, but like this deck was notorious for being like a meme, for being the most ass out of all the ass decks. It's basically like Floodgate / Summon Synchros, even though neither of those things really worked together for the longest of times. It's known as like the unfunctioning pile of ass, at least in my household. Also, side note, when I came back to the game in like 2014, some dude just memed on me and I lost. Like, I think it was on Dueling Book, and he was running Ice Barriers, and he established some sort of Floodgate setup, and I didn't even know what a ban list was at this point, so I'm just playing whatever, and I ended up getting beat by Ice Barriers. So not my proudest moment, but I'm not afraid. I'm not ashamed to admit it. We all have skeletons in our closet, and mine is losing to Ice Barriers. A few years ago, we received a modern take on the deck in a form of a structure deck where it gave it kind of like a win condition. You're able to summon these monsters more easily, and just actually be able to do stuff, as opposed to before where you just draw a hand and you're like, oh my god, none of this works. Which is really interesting because the deck has like really good cards, like has a really good search spell. Like, their spells are crazy, right? But their monsters are just terrible. Like, they have no inherent summon condition. They don't have inherent like crazy effects. It's just like, here's a tribute summon monster, and then like when this card's on the field, your opponent can't go to the bathroom. Like, these are not good enough effects, and no summoning condition makes them just like crazy. Because like, why not just run Majesty's Fiend? Like I said, weirdly enough, the deck is not theoretically badly designed. You know, hey, here's Floodgates for going first, and giant synchros that destroy boards going second. Like, that's a great, great design philosophy. Unfortunately, it was executed awfully, which is kind of like Konami's thing. You know, that should be like their slogan. Konami, we theoretically have great ideas, execute them terribly. But now with this new Terminal World support, how good will this deck be? So first of all, we'll start with Gorgeous, or in my opinion, gorgeous, because this man is fabulous. Look at this man, bro. While you control another Ice Barrier monster, your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters in the graveyard, right? So he's like a dweller while he's on the field, and he's a big boy, very hard to out. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If you control an Ice Barrier monster, you can special summon this from your hand in defense position. Just basically spams itself. It's a tuner, level 6. That's crazy. And if he's normal or special summon, he summons another level 5 or lower Ice Barrier monster from your hand or graveyard. He's essentially, if you control an Ice Barrier, a 1-card Lancia, like the new guy. So he's absolutely busted. The best card in the new support. Absolutely phenomenal. Like, nothing can be said. This is like a 12 out of 10. Then the second card that they released is Mirror Magic Master of the Ice Barrier. Say that 5 times fast, please. You contribute one other effect monster. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra decks for the rest of the turn except water synchro monsters. Also special summon up to 3 Ice Barrier tokens. Aqua, water, level 1, attack 0, defense 0. And if you do, increase this card's level by the same number. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add one of your Ice Barrier cards that is banished or in your deck to your hand. Except, insert name here. You can only use this effect of this dude once per turn. This card, okay, so I'm kind of mistaken. Gorgeous is amazing. He is probably the best card out of these new cards, but this card's also one of the best. It's literally they're tied. They're both the best card released. They're insane. This is a level 2 tuner that can basically toggle into whatever you'd like. You have ultimate flexibility. You can use it when you use them on field. You can basically make any synchro you'd like. You can synchro climb. You can draw with Coral Dragon. You can make a really cheap Arctosaurus, that dinosaur synchro level 9 that draws you cards. This card unlocks a lot of different insane things, and also when it's sent to the graveyard, you just get another dude. So he's absolutely crazy. Like, these are like 12 out of 10, both cards in terms of support. Then we got Lancia, Dragonic Ancestor of the Ice Spirit Mountain. We all know the name. We know that it's not an Ice Spirit card. Sad, but this card's crazy. It requires basically 1 water tuner, 1 non-tuner, level 10, super easy to summon. With Barone being banned especially, it's a perfect monster to toggle into if you can make it. If your opponent special summons a monster, you can special summon 1 Ice Barrier monster from your hand, deck, extra deck, or graveyard. What the hell, bro? Like, you can literally summon like Brionic weirdly, and like on your turn just pitch a card to bounce. Like, he's absolutely crazy. He can summon Gorgeous from the deck. He can summon any of the other Floodgate guys from the deck, and he can do that twice per turn. That's insane. If he leaves the field, you can special summon 1 Ice Barrier Synchro monster from your extra deck, and it's treated as a Synchro summon. So if they remove him from the field because they don't want to trigger the other effect, as long as it's not in a chain where like he's at least chain link 1 being removed, you just trish them. That's crazy. Like there's no way they're not going to have something in grave and field to be able to remove them. So like now all of a sudden they're just losing more cards. Like, that's very hard to out. You can literally run this deck weirdly, like in a weird control style where you just make like Lancia and like pass. And like, yes, Imperm can shut him down, but dude, like, you have other, like, you can make a 1-card Lancia almost every time. So like you have 4 other cards to work with, right? And if they remove him from field, he still triggers the Trish effect. So it's like, he is absolutely bonkers. And you can summon both Trishes, where you can just kill their field or kill their hand field grave. He's also a 12 out of 10. Like, this card's absolutely bonkers. And then finally, their last support card that was released in the recent set is Frozen Domain leading to the Ice Barrier. Great artwork. I actually like trap cards, but unfortunately Konami hates them because they just make them so bad. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to the activation of your Ice Barrier monster's effects. This is stupid. This should have been a continuous spell. Like, if we're going to do that. If a monster is special summoned from the extra deck, you can return 1 Ice Barrier monster you control to their hand or deck. Then you can place 1 card on the field or in the graveyard on the bottom of the deck. And you can only use this effect of Frozen Domain leading to Ice Barrier once per turn. Once per turn during your end phase, reveal 3 Ice Barrier monsters with different names of your extra deck or destroy this card. This card literally could have just been a continuous spell, right? Like, what is the point of it being a trap? Like, it's so stupid. This card's terrible. Terrible. This is the worst out of all 3 waves, out of all 3 decks of support. This is the worst card because they just don't put any effort in trap cards. They give it 3 dumb effects that almost like wouldn't even be worth running if it was a spell, and they make it on a trap, which makes it like impossible to run. And so those are new cards. Here's the deck skeleton or deck profile post-release for this deck. Now, the question that is on everyone's mind is, will this be competitive? That's the question. I want to say yes. These new tools are crazy, and the deck has a 1-card combo and can be splashed with stuff like Runic to make it even better, right? And I'm sure other engines too, because it's very like tight, neat fitting engine. You can run a bunch of hand traps too. I expect results from this deck too. You won't run the trap, but the other 3 are so good that it doesn't matter, especially because the structure deck did give us like Revealer, which is a really good support card, which is newer support than Infernoid or Ritual Beast have gotten. So I expect that's why they gave Ice Barrier possibly the worst support. But to be fair, for all of these decks, they've outdone themselves. This support is absolutely money, and if I'm putting my money on anything, I would say Infernoid is the best deck out of the 3 because of all the abundance of fire support that we have currently in the game, and also the generic Fiend support that we have, right? I'm sure there's some weird Infernoid fire pile, Yubel, Unchained pile of 60 cards that will probably be insane and like kill it on the regional scene and possibly the YCS scene. The deck can break boards, the deck can go first, The deck has some bricks, but that can be mitigated by just running more cards. You don't really need hand traps in this deck because the deck is entirely a board breaker deck. Like every guy in Infernoids can break boards like by themselves essentially. And the way that Infernoids are structured is like they're just designed to be broken but bricky. And some of these new cards kind of remove some of the issues with bricking, and so I think that Infernoid is a really, really strong threat. They're almost unpower creepable in a way. After that, I'd say number 2 is Ritual Beasts because all of their cards are absolutely stone cold, badass, amazing. Like they're great. And then Ice Barriers, but don't get it confused. Just because Ice Barriers 3 doesn't mean that it's not an amazing deck in its own way. It would be if I had to rate this by a score of 1 to 10. I think the Infernoid supports a 9. Ritual Beast is an 8.5, 8.75, right there neck and neck, and maybe even a 9. And then Ice Barrier is an 8 to 8.5, where the reason Infernoids gets the tip of the cap is because of the Abundance of Fire and generic Fiend support. There's gonna be a pile that's just gonna be absolutely broken of generic Fiend Infernoid stuff. But guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment down below which of these decks do you like? What are you picking up? What do you think? Do these decks have a chance of being competitive in today's meta? Which one is the best to you? Am I right? Am I wrong? Comment down below and we'll debate. Also, please check out the Discord if you haven't already. It's in the description. It's a nice little fun community. We're growing, so check it out. And don't forget to watch this video as you continue your YouTube rabbit hole journey. And I will see you as always.